Every time I've raised energy shortages in this country, I've been told that, that the solution is offshore, and we have this wonderful solution, and we will be the Saudi Arabia of wind energy. In response to some of that verbiage, there's been a huge amount of interest by international investors. Obviously, Equinor were teaming up with ESB in what was a very exciting announcement that ESB made close to the start of this government's term. A little bit after they made the announcement, Equinor pulled out of the market entirely, apparently unimpressed with any capability to deliver on these very exciting promises. Royal Dutch Shell followed them in pulling out of the market soon. A couple of weeks ago we learned that ESB had a new partner in mind, and they were in negotiations with a very large renewable company, Ørsted. But that was followed by an announcement that, regarding phase 2 of the offshore sector, that we weren't going to be proceeding, or at least proceeding in any foreseeable timeline. No timeline could be given on when we'd proceed with phase 2, other than 2 sites, one off the south of the country and one off the southeast of the country. Now, I asked the Taoiseach where that left phase 2 and all the promises that had been made, and he said he wasn't aware of that announcement. Now, that announcement was made by an official of your department, Minister. So I'd like you to outline to me, if I'm to vote for this bill, which is an emergency bill, what's happening with phase 2? What's happening with the rest of the country? The Taoiseach said that we would have a phase 2, but it would be plan-led rather than developer-led. Now, that sounds great if we had the capabilities as a state to develop a plan and to determine what areas would be the subject of offshore wind energy, but I'm not convinced that we have. It would be a bit like those who opposed the involvement of Siemens at the time in developing Ardnacrusha and said, no, we'll do it for ourselves. But I fear that if we were waiting to do it for ourselves, we'd still be in the process of constructing Ardnacrusha. Because, we have limitations as a state. We have limitations in state expenditure. I mean, 33% of the state's GDP was spent on Ardnacrusha, as it was. Now, I don't think that you're going to be able to spend 33% of our GDP on developing an offshore wind energy. There are investors who want to invest in it, but there is simply no coherent plan at least from a hearing from people involved with those investors, is that there is no coherent plan coming from your department. There's nothing in which they can invest. So instead of investing in Ireland, they're moving to Scotland, which is proceeding with real, tangible plans to develop an offshore wind sector to power the needs of that state. Where is our plan? What is happening, Minister? I look forward to your responses.
We had a record year last year in terms of renewables deployment. We will beat that this year and next, I'm quite convinced, because this is the way the world is going and where our country is going. We're going to go 100% renewable, but it will take some time. I'll come back to you on that in terms of phase 1, 2 and 3. And you shouldn't always necessarily believe what you read in the papers. We are absolutely committed to floating offshore wind as part of, and it will be power to X, as you said, as government committed the summer before last, that we do want it not just in the form of electricity, but we want to see innovative solutions that use that power when it comes ashore in the Shannon, in the likes of the Shannon Estuary or in Cork Harbour. So it's not just electricity, but it's potential development to other industrial benefit applications, and that's exactly what we're doing. And we're doing it with proper planning, so that you're not breaching of environment, so that you get the environmental planning right. And the plan agreed by Cabinet today will be very clear to any developer to be able to bid in and be part of what initial phases are only really at first toe in the water. The scale of the potential after that is beyond compare, and that's why it does have to be state-led and planned, and not just a Klondike gold rush, but an actual ordered, organised mechanism where you do use international development, finance and capability, but it's part of a system which is well planned so that you don't fall foul. Well, you make the most efficient use of it.